Hello, everyone. I'm Melisande Mouwal, publisher at The Papers, and I'm really happy to be back in Berlin at the MPE. And I'm joined by Brice van der Wallen, EVP Core Payments at Mastercard. So hi, Brice. It's really good to see you again. How are you?
I'm very well. Really glad to see you again here at MPE.
Yeah. So let's explore what's next for merchant payments. So looking ahead to the next 24 months, what strategic shift will most fundamentally reshape merchant payments?
I would say there are three things. The first thing is tokenization. Last year when we were here together, we already mentioned how much tokenization was the thing that was happening. We had mentioned our vision to have 100% of tokenized transaction in the online world. Last year we were around 50%, and now we actually passed the mark of 57%. So that's we are very much on the right trajectory, and we're very confident that this will, we will hit our goal. So we're really good there, and we see merchants adopting that really well. The other thing that is happening in parallel is everything around authentication and how the usage of biometric and now passkey standards are going to shape how consumers are authenticating online. It's all about convenience, but also about security. We've been running first pilots last year in Europe, really good numbers. So that is really going to be the way merchant can improve their approval rates, reduce fraud rates, and providing the best user experience in the future to their customers. So that's really good. Now, I think the one that are maybe going to impact a little bit more or be a bigger change are around stablecoin. Now, I mean, we've announced yesterday the acquisition of BVNK, which is a huge player in the stablecoin. It's not about replacing card. It's about enabling the settlement of stablecoin. We see that a lot of volumes are already happening there. It's no longer about just crypto. It's about B2B flows. So how do we insert ourselves there? From a merchant perspective, that's going to unlock a lot of very interesting use case, but also enable the flow of the money to be much faster, right? And at the end of the day, that's what is important for merchant. And talking about the flow of money and being faster, on the settlement part of the money, we are also making a big change in Europe and also globally, which is to move to what we would call instant clearing, meaning instead of having a few cycles of clearing every day and then maybe one settlement a day and then 5 settlements a week, we are moving to what we would call instant clearing, meaning in parallel with the authorization, which is obviously always online and instant, we will do the clearing instantly as well. And attached to that, we're going to increase the frequency of settlement cycle on the daily basis, meaning, instead of one, we have multiple ones. And last but not least, we're going to make sure that we settle also on weekends, which means that for merchants, again, the money will potentially be coming faster into their account because, that was a fundamental let's say, legacy that we had in the card rails, and we're going to address that.
Yeah, so, and real time is the new normal.
Real time is the thing, and we are fully on it. So, a lot of things happening.
Super. So one of the developments gaining attention is obviously agentic commerce. I mean, it's the talk of the town, where AI agents can search, they can select, and potentially also transact on behalf of consumers. So how close are we to mainstream adoption of agent-initiated payments? And what changes in the payment infrastructure are needed to support this safely at scale?
Yeah, and maybe starting with the end. We are all about trust, right? The Mastercard brand inspired trust for consumers and for merchants. And that's because you have that mutual trust between the consumers and the merchant through the Mastercard brand that we've been enabling transaction for the last 60 years. Right? And the last thing we would want is that this trust gets damaged because suddenly there is something that is not working well and you have fraud or you have no problem. And the reality is we have now new stakeholders, right, which are coming to the party. We used to have a 4-party model, and now you have a sort of 5th party to the model. And we need to make sure that those AI agent, those LLM, large language model, also understand the rules of the games, participate in the ecosystem, and frankly, respect the whole thing, right? And so it's all about maintaining that trust. And so what we've been doing is introduce a set of standards so that we understand what kind of information needs to move from the agent to the merchant, from the merchant to the acquirer, etc., so that everybody speaks the same language. That's how we've been building interoperability the last 50 years, right? Everybody talks the same language. And also now we have introduced the concept of know your agent, right? So that means that we are analyzing, collecting data, and requesting information from the agent, and we are validating a few things to make sure that they can be part of the ecosystem. So very much like we've done in the past, working with the Apple and the Google and the likes, who were what we call token requester in our jargon, right? Meaning we give them the authorization to ask us token from the issuers. We are doing exactly the same thing now with the agents, so that we certify and they become part of the franchise, if you like, so that when they come in and when they start requesting token and asking to process transaction on behalf of the consumer, we know who they are. They're going to have an idea, and we'll be able to identify them from the moment they initiate the transaction all the way down to the issuer, who will know that this transaction was issued, authorized or requested by an agent. So this is about making sure everybody plays with the same kind of rules. We are, putting in place the right the safeguards so that we know what's happening and with whom we're working with. And then we have also established and announced two weeks ago what we call the verifiable intent. And so that's a bit of a strange name, I can confess that. But what it essentially means is that we are now putting in place the standards and the specification where we can attach three things that are really important for processing such kind of transaction. One, we are verifying the identity of the consumer that is using an agent to process a transaction. And we're doing that with biometric authentication, with passkeys, and we're securing that part. Then what we're doing as a second step is really capturing what was the intent, what were the instructions that the customer gave to the agent, what were also the restrictions, what were the limits that the customer gave to the agent. So for example, you want to buy a pair of shoes of a particular brand, size X, and that's going to be captured as part of the intent, right? And then we will also capture the fact that the cardholder gave his or her consent. So it gave the authorization to the agent to act on their behalf. Again, we will use the authentication and passkeys to say, once you do this verification, that's also going to be used to say, oh, I've agreed to give that power to the agent to transact on my behalf. And the last thing we'll do as part of this verifiable intent is collect and register what were all the actions taken by the agent based on that intent. And so we're going to put that all together, and that's going to be like if you like the capsule in which all the information about pre, during, and post-purchase will be, all together, cryptographically protected as well. So you cannot just detach and it's all
and hack
one.
And whatever.
And then with that, the transaction will flow. But if there's something that is not working well, right? You got green shoes instead of red shoes, or you got a adult bike instead of a child bike, we will be able to disclose the information on a selective basis to the parties so that they can also manage the post-purchase processes such as chargebacks, etc. So it's all about putting the standards in place, making sure the franchise and the rules of the games are well understood by the agent, and also making sure that all this information is properly captured, secured, and also we apply a selective disclosure of data so that the merchant's data are not unnecessarily sent to the issuer, because we are very conscious that merchants are sort of worried that we transmit too much data. So that is all taken care of. Now, to the first part of your question, adoption. In payment, nothing goes really fast. I mean, that's what I was always saying. But last year, as you probably remember, we were having the first discussion about agent and whether they would have an influence on how people do online purchases. And frankly, we had no clue. Right? We had absolutely no clue. I think no one in the audience had used ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever. And so it was a very, very early day conversation. And now, 12 months later, we had already the first tokenized agentic transaction. We have pilots running in multiple parts of the world. A lot of players are on it. And so I think we can reasonably expect that in 2 to 3 years, that's going to become like a thing. There's still a lot of things that need to happen on the merchant side. The issuing community is ready, right? We have enabled 99% of the issuers to support agentic tokens. So that means if an agent comes and requests a token from any bank in Europe, it works. It has been tested. So really, it's on the merchant acceptance side that we need to still work a little bit. I'm expecting to see the first agentic transaction initiated in Europe this year by a merchant or an acquirer, from a merchant based in Europe or an acquirer based in Europe. So that's coming. I think we'll be able to share more very soon. But massive adoption will take probably 2 to 3 years, because it will depend on the capabilities of the merchant to adjust a lot of processes, a lot of things that they do internally, the way they manage data, the way they protect their firewalls. I mean, but they need to adjust, because what is happening fundamentally is that consumers' behavior is changing, right? Very rapidly, we've been all adopting agent to do any kind of task, which was difficult in the past. And now in a millisecond, you can do stuff that are unbelievable. And so there's a real consumer demand, right? So we are just a few steps. Of course, agents need to work and make sure they don't hallucinate and all these kind of things. But the moment they get it right, consumer will be demanding this thing to work very, very, very quickly. And so I believe the strategic imperative, if the merchant could remember one thing, is they need to understand that agent will be looking for those merchants that can interact with them. And once the merchant has been able to be excellent at the whole process of purchase, so pre, during, and post-purchase, not just have the best price, because that's only one thing, but also make sure that you have good return policy, that you take good care of the customer that had an issue, that all the reviews you have pre-purchase from other customers are good. These are all the things that the agent will be looking at when making a decision. Where should I send my customer, the consumer, to buy something from the merchant? And so if as a merchant, you're good enough or you're excellent at addressing the pre, the during, and the post-purchase, you'll be selected as the default merchant for the agent. And that gives you a unique strategic competitive advantage versus all the other ones that will have said, I don't want. And so I think this is really the game now, because you're no longer fighting for the attention of the consumers, right? It's not about doing a lot of marketing for your brand, etc. No, what you need to do is focus about how you are addressing this pre, during, and post-purchase experience all the way through, because agent, they will remove the emotional part of things, right? They will be very factual. They will be very rational on how they assess a particular
execution,
merchant.
Basically, of all these steps.
So they'll be very cold, if you like, right? As opposed to a consumer that can be. So I think that's going to shift fundamentally how people will shop, and obviously it represents a lot of questions and challenges for existing merchants. But we have also programs, we have partnership. We're also happy to welcome the merchant to come to us, discuss. We have a lot of very skilled people that can help them figure out things. So I think it's a very interesting future we have ahead of us.
No, it's a fascinating space, Brice, and thank you so much for sharing all your insights. And I can't wait to next year and to see where we are in this journey.
Same for me.
So super, thank you.
Thank you very much.